Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, with my Week 8 selections for college football. All right, I'm 78-64 against the spread. 78-64, do the math. I don't know what that is. 78-64, it's about 55%. Straight up, 126 right, 34 wrong. Again, do the math. I will do it at a later date. Okay, let's dig in a little bit more. Straight up upsets. Okay, there have been 142 games that I've picked against the spread. 36 of them have been straight up upsets. 36 of 142, about one quarter of the games, upsets. So you have to look for the upsets, and we've got 16, I believe, 16 picks today, so that would mean 3 to 4 should be upsets again this week. My underdog selection. So these are games that I've picked the underdog to win the game straight out. 14-11. Doesn't necessarily sound impressive, but when you do the math on the money, it is very impressive because what happens is if you bet $100 a game and you lose $100 on all the games that you lose, well, because you're picking all underdogs, you're winning well over $100 per game. So the 14 right, let's say, nets an average of 140 or 150 per game versus the 11 you miss at 100 per. Okay. I'm much better on the picks with the point spreads at 21 or less. About 500 on the picks at 21 or more. I say it all the time. If Vegas is right on the point spread and it's plus 21 or more, you don't know who's going to be in the game in the fourth quarter. You don't know how hard they're going to be playing. You don't know how the coaches are going to call the game. Here we go. Let's run through them. Then we want your picks down in the comments section. Central Florida at East Carolina, ECU. All right, UCF at East Carolina. UCF wins and covers 21 points. Maryland at Iowa, Hawkeyes win and cover 9. Michigan State. I wrestled with this one. I like Michigan to win the game. It's 5 a.m. in the morning. Sorry, not real coherent here. Don't talk to somebody on the phone all night. Michigan at Michigan State. I like Michigan to cover 7 points, but again, I have been all over the place on that game, because Michigan has not been a good road team in recent years, going back about 10 years, but specifically under Harbaugh against good teams. But Michigan does what they did last week against Wisconsin, but a closer game. Michigan covers 7 against Michigan State. Ohio State-Purdue. Yes, Buckeyes survive West Lafayette, but Purdue in the 13 points is too much. I'll take it. Bama-Tennessee. This is one of those games that I warn you against, but I pick all the top 25 games plus some other games of interest. Bama wins, of course. Take Tennessee plus the 29 points. Penn State, Indiana. I am extremely close to calling this one a flat-out upset. Indiana at home against Penn State. Penn State season's toast. They've lost 2 games. Penn State too talented. They win the game in the end. But take Indiana and 14.5 points. Oregon, Washington State in Pullman. Oregon continues their run. They win the game, take the 3 points, but they win outright. That's one of my upset picks. Colorado, Washington. Huskies win at home, but take the Buffs in the 17.5. Washington has won its last 3 games close. Minnesota, Nebraska. Huskers finally win, but I'll take a team that's won 3 or 4 football games in Minnesota. Give me the 5 points. So Minnesota plus the 5 against Nebraska. Huskers finally win one for Scott Frost. OU, TCU, difficult point spread here because it's on that cusp of a touchdown. Take Oklahoma minus the 7.5. They pull away late in Dallas, Fort Worth. NC State, Clemson, game of the year in the ACC at this point. NC State, Clemson, Tigers win at home. I know that the metrics say that they're going to blow out NC State, but I've got to see it. NC State has played them close. Of course, they had the great defensive line play with Bradley Chubb and company the last few years, but I like NC State with a solid quarterback play of Ryan Finley. 17.5 points. I'll take it. Clemson does win the football game. Mississippi State, LSU. Yes, defensive struggle here. Give me Mississippi State in 6.5 points. I am close to picking an upset here, but I won't. LSU wins the game. USC-Utah. We'll take USC, and again, I can see this upset, but I want to go back to my preseason selections in the Pac-12 in which I picked Utah to beat USC and march on to the Pac-12 championship game, so I take it here, Utah to win, but man, give me USC in a full touchdown. UConn, USF. Does it matter? USF wins. UConn plus the 33, even though they're losing every game by 45 or 50 points. Backdoor cover, UConn plus 33. Doesn't matter. Forget it. Vandy, Kentucky. Upset alert. But I'll take Kentucky at home. If this was in Nashville, I might pull the trigger. Take Kentucky at home, but I'll take those 13 points in a defensive game. When does Kentucky score much more than 25 points in a game? Take the 13 in Vandy. Absolutely. And here's another upset special of sorts. UCLA, yeah, they won one game, but prove something else. Rose Bowl is not a home field advantage for UCLA. Arizona, despite the loss of Khalil Tate, Rhett Rodriguez, Rich's son, he's practiced and he has started now his second game. Improvement from week 1, game start 1 to game start 2. Take Arizona plus the 10 and take the Wildcats to upset UCLA in the Rose Bowl. So there we go. My picks for week 8. Again, we want to hear from you at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. No kickoff show. It's way too late for me. Got to sleep for 3 or 4 hours. What we're going to do, I believe, is set up for the noon Eastern Time Michigan State game. Of course, Iowa, Maryland, Oklahoma, TCU, and some other teams will be on the field at noon. I believe Ole Miss and Auburn, but highlighted by Michigan State. Watch party with Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Michigan State, noon Eastern Time. Watch party right here. Fill up the chat room, and we'll talk it up. I will be focused on the game, but I'm going to provide analysis as the game is going on. We'll talk Michigan State. Huge game in the Big Ten, noon Eastern Time. See you soon.